Dudes.
Represents a clear and present danger to the national security of the United States.
You have no idea what men are.
Welcome back to Clear and Present Dudes, the podcast where I expect and demand your best. Anything less, you should have joined the Air Force. Cool. Thank you for joining. I am Mike Barr. I'm joined here with my good friend Rory James O'Toole.
Hello. Currently down in the sonar room. For those of you who aren't watching on videos, I'm lit in those green hues that are standard issue for any ICBM submarines sonar room, apparently.
And Saanje Björksen joining us from his new digs and his new accommodation over in Hamburg.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Unfortunately, I can't offer any interesting color use at the moment. I'm afraid we've switched to daylight ops rooms.
So, welcome to episode 10 of Clear and Present Dudes. And we are covering the 1995 movie Crimson Tide. Hence why I've lit myself in submarine control room Crimson. Thank you to all the people who have been listening and rating and commenting and all that good stuff. Allows us to keep doing what we're doing, so that's brilliant. Before we tackle the movie this week, Ruari O'Toole, I've got to ask you a question. How are you getting on with Tom Clancy's The Bear and the Dragon?
Good grief. We're close to the end game on it. The road to war phase has drawn to an end, and now what's beginning is a word or a phrase. I don't know if it's one word or if it's hyphenated or if it's two words because it's an audiobook. Hyperwar. I don't know if I love it or hate it, but but the concept of hyperwar is referenced multiple times, which you never quite got an answer as to what the meaning of hyperwar is, by the way. But so basically, when last we left off, the Chinese were preparing for their incursion into Russia for a resources grab of the oil and gold newly found in Siberia. The Russians had joined NATO with like zero protest from any other members of NATO. President Jack Ryan, President Tom Clancy, President Jack Ryan, right? He's like, this is his unilateral wet dream. Russia's in NATO, that's it. The Chinese invade Russia, led by this general who smokes at least 60 cigarettes a day, and that's mentioned in the book. Now, I think that Tom Clancy's smoking habit was actually part of the circumstances around the divorce he was going through, because his book is incredibly divorced. Because President Tom Clancy, throughout the entirety of the book, keeps like bumming the occasional cigarette off his secretary. And then there's like this bad guy who's like, Marshal whatever, lit the 60th cigarette of the day. And it's like, Tommy says like, see? I'm not that heavy a smoker. President Jack Clancy isn't that bad a guy. He's just occasionally bumming them and hiding them from his bitch wife. The Chinese go into Russia. They have their incursion against like the Russian forces. They cross the border into Siberia. And this is when it goes into real like Tom Clancy just going back into writing about land wars in granular detail like he did with Red Storm Rising. It's lost like a lot of the weird kind of horny aspects of like the preamble when that Japanese-American CIA agent was romancing a Politburo secretary. She kept... Don't say it.
He's going to say it. You're going to say it. Go on, just say it.
Jade sausage.
There we go.
There we go. No more of that. And in like the final kind of bit of like diplomacy before the balloon kind of goes up, there's just, because to be honest, the combat's kind of cool, but it's not funny to talk about, and the diplomacy aspect of it is. So when you're the president of America, right, and China has a lot of your people living in, obviously for business, maybe the visiting family, there's a concern that they're going to be kind of hostages to a hostile state, right? Ryan just sends the Chinese government a diplomatic note saying he's going to use paveway guided munitions on all of the Chinese government. If any American citizens are injured, once the war kind of begins in earnest as well, there's a scene when like President Ryan tries to phone the Chinese premier, right, to tell him, hey man, knock it off, comrade. But this is like the Chinese president, right? He's this guy who was elected because he was hot, like he was a himbo,
Right.
and he's just this like dumb guy who was elected because he's a good-looking dude, and he like just does anything the Politburo say. So someone just tells him, "Oh, just tell the president that you're not in." And so the president of the United States of America phones whatever the presidential palace is called in Beijing, speaks to a switchboard operator who's like, "No, he's not in, he's meeting the people." And then they contact the US embassy in Beijing, and they're like, "Can you check if the Chinese president's lights are still on?" And they're like, "Yeah, his lights are still on."
Lights are still on.
His lights are still on, man. It's nuts.
That's insane. That reminds me of this week of Donald Trump getting Benjamin Netanyahu on the phone and getting him to apologise to the Prime Minister of Qatar for launching those missiles into Qatar.
Good grief.
It's just like, yeah, that is diplomacy. I guess that's diplomacy. I guess you're doing something about it.
It's like, listen here, man.
I want you to say sorry to this guy. Don't do it again, Benjamin. I'm broadly content with the genocide so far, but please stop that.
This one specific thing, please knock it off. So yeah, I think the next episode we're going to see the final installment of this hyper war that's happening. So
hyper war. What's that? 100 times 100 times mega war. It's hyper war.
It's not quite giga war.
It's war, but with more Clausewitz.
Very good. Right, we're capitalizing on that.
Yes.
Very good segue of
Nice.
from Clausewitz. Okay, right, guys. Today we are talking about. Thank you, Rory, for your summary of A Bear and the Dragon. We are talking today about Crimson Tide, the 1995 movie directed by Tony Scott, starring Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. Set during a period of post-Soviet turmoil, the film follows a U.S. nuclear missile submarine (SSBN) facing a dire dilemma: should they launch their nukes when a critical message is cut off mid-transmission? It's a high-stake clash of wills between an experienced and war-as-hell Captain Ramsey, Gene Hackman, and his new thoughtful executive officer, Denzel Washington. Guys, should we just plonk on the old trailer?
As you no doubt heard, my XO has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list.
That's good to know, sir.
It was a short list. There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we trained for.
Submerge the ship.
Diving officer, submerge the ship, make your depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC. Dive, dive.
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
What we've always known
Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now. This is not a drill.
Now,
Sir, we have a possible submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
the battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
Sir, we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I've made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve.
I'd rather go out myself and get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us.
I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
Missile systems ready to launch in 6 minutes.
You repeat this order or I'll find somebody who will.
Hell no, you won't, sir.
And nothing can stop the tide.
Sonar torpedoes in the water!
Right full rudder.
1,000 yards of closing dive! Make your depth 1,200 feet! Hang on, everybody!
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling our missiles.
He's right on top of us!
Place commando. Under arrest. Under charge of mutiny.
Don't you ready? Lock Captain Ramsey in his stateroom.
Fire one. Now. Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of this ship.
Crimson Tide.
God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war.
It's a good trailer.
Man, that's such a good trailer, isn't it?
That is a good trailer.
Hal Douglas did the voiceover on that trailer. He's the guy I talked about a few episodes ago who did like a zillion voices.
Get it.
For trailers, awesome. Some things from that trailer like immediately pop out and that we'll talk about. So the external shots of the submarine. I'll talk about that in a bit in the trivia. The one thing you heard a lot of, if you were listening to this and you didn't see it, was shotguns getting cocked.
Yeah.
How many shotguns do you need on an SSBN?
How many firearms in general do you need? It was wild.
Yeah. We maintain like a juicy watch on board submarines when they're alongside, and they are armed with the SA-80 rifle, as is every quartermaster in the RN when they're holding a watch. But shotguns. The only times you ever see shotguns on board ships that I'm aware of is when they're on as a private weapon for clay pigeon shooting, which is surprisingly common.
It's pretty based.
I was just going to make a dumb joke and say clearly at least one of the S in SSBN stands for shotgun.
Love it, man.
Shotgun, submersible, ballistic, nuclear. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if there's an element of, those like just insane stories of like submarine warfare in World War One, like Dardanelles kind of actions and stuff, when submarines were like, we're going to pull up on some random beach and put a boarding party ashore and they're going to destroy a train, that kind of thing. I wonder if like Captain Gene Hackman's prepared for all eventualities, got significant amounts of shotguns in case they need to replace the Olympic skeet shooting team. I mean, if there's no more like society, but the SSBNs all survived due to the fact that they've nuked the world out. America's still got to have like the best skeet shooting team, right? So there you go.
That's it. Yeah.
Mythbusters.
The other bit is that they're obviously taking the SSBN all the way to Russia, apparently, according to the trailer, which is seems a bit moot when you've got a Trident missile capable of covering 6,000 miles. But yeah, no, let's just park it outside their front door and do it.
They're going to tilt right down and do a really low trajectory shot. That'll show them it's coming in under the radar. The ICBM identifies as a tomahawk for this film.
Before we get like super into pointing out all the goofs and stuff, I think the starting precept of this movie is that it was made without the cooperation of the United States Navy, because they quite rightly, I suppose, were pretty concerned about the depiction of submarines this way, the idea that you could put a submarine to sea and have a mutiny on board, all that kind of stuff. The movie was made without any assistance from the US Navy, apart from like one retired guy who I guess didn't get listened to very much, because there's a raft of inaccuracies and so on that I'm sure we'll pour into as we go through the movie. So released in May 1995, Crimson Tide arrived in theatres as a taut post-Cold War thriller produced by the powerhouse and alleged cocaine-fueled duo Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer, who were the guys behind Days of Thunder, Top Gun, etc., and also Tony Scott at the helm. So again, Days of Thunder, Top Gun, Deja Vu, Man on Fire, Enemy of the State. So yeah, awesome. The film's title is a sly nod to the USS Alabama submarine in which it's set, because the University of Alabama's football team is called the Crimson Tide. The story unfolds amid political chaos in Russia. An ultra-nationalist takes control of a nuclear missile facility and threatens to launch nuclear missiles, a little bit like Tom Clancy's Op Center. And the USS Alabama is sent on a patrol armed with its own nuclear arsenal, and it then receives a partial, ambiguous EAM, emergency action message, during a hostile encounter with a Nakula. The captain wants to launch the missiles. The XO, Denzel Washington, doesn't want to launch the missiles. And the doctrine dictates that they both must agree, but the captain doesn't like that. So, madness ensues. As I mentioned, directed by Tony Scott, written by Michael Schiffer, who did a lot of writing on Call of Duty games, and The Peacemaker, which is another movie that deals with the stray bolt of a nuclear missile, and Richard P. Henrik, and this is his only real credit, this guy. Got some uncredited dialogue punch-ups by Quentin Tarantino, which is really obvious when you start looking for it. Cinematography was done by a guy called Dariusz Wolski, who's done a lot of work with Ridley Scott, notably Alien Covenant, The Martian, and Napoleon. He also did that weird Fly Me to the Moon movie that came out this year on Apple TV Plus with Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson, where they fake the moon landing as a backup plan for in case the moon landing doesn't really work. The context of the movie came out in the mid-90s. Hollywood were obsessed with the end of the Cold War at this time and trying to find who the new bad guy would be. At this time, we had the Russian Chechnya War in 1994. It kicked off the year prior. Bosnia was going on still, 1992, 1995. Reception, box office, got about 157 million worldwide. I think it did really well. Got 3 Oscar nominations for editing, sound, and for visual effects. And I think that's fair enough because it holds up to this day, I think, in those regards. And it sort of, I would say, sets the gold standard for mutiny at sea dramas in the modern era. And it's still used in ethics classes in naval colleges to this day. It's a pretty iconic movie, despite the fact that, as we're going to go into, it's got a bunch of kind of goofs. Some of them I think are fair enough for the purposes of making a movie entertaining and easy to pass for the lay person. Some of them less so, a bit more ridiculous and a little bit insulting to people's intelligence. Yeah, should we get into... Oh, that's a lot of intro from me, I'm sorry. Shall we get into the plot beats? I will start with the beginning. So the first thing we see is a reporter reporting from the French aircraft carrier Foch, talking about how this ultra-nationalist has seized this nuclear facility and how and then it cuts to the chat with Gene Hackman doing his interview for his new XO.
But the scenes on the Foch, I was like, I wonder if this film wasn't endorsed by the US Navy. Because, I mean, yeah. So I didn't think too much after that, but I thought, it's funny that it's a French aircraft carrier. And I thought, I wonder if they didn't have the tacit support of the US end of this one. Clearly, they don't. I've noticed that, like, thriller media and products from the 90s always have CNN as kind of a gold standard news establishment. Of CNN guy on the French ship. It's circling back. It's the CNN news team in The Bear and the Dragon who filmed those Chinese cops killing the papal nuncio in that maternity suite. And it's showing out. It's like when you see the stick that CNN gets from a certain orange toned guy. And all of the people around him, it's wild to see that, like, CNN at one point was like shorthand in storytelling terms. This is believable news, and now it's fake news. Obviously,
it is like the gold standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that the journalist is a guy called Richard Valeriani, who's playing himself. He was a White House correspondent in the 60s and 70s. He cut his teeth. He spoke 5 languages. He died in 2018. He spoke 5 languages, and he cut his teeth in his career by covering the Bay of Pigs invasion at Cuba. So he's like a real guy. The ship for the ship spotter nerds is a Clemenceau class. It's the second of its type. FS Foch. It's named after Ferdinand Foch, who was a highly decorated field marshal in World War I. Launched in 1959. Sold to the Brazilian Navy in 2000. So only 5 years after this, and then she was sadly scuttled in 2023. So now she's a bit of a coral reef for fish off Brazil, sadly. But yeah,
we don't have any listeners in Brazil yet, and I hate that because I want to get those come to Brazil posts.
Yeah, you're telling me to come to Brazil. Yeah,
I want to get those like come to Brazil and do a live show posts. I really do.
Yeah,
something I was going to kind of get a little bit about stock footage that they use to like narrate the whole rise of the ultranationalists and the start of this war. It's like RAF dropped off JP-233 munitions, friggin' Apaches. It's like there's video of Russian planes, there's video of Heinz out there. It's like, come on, man, spend another 5 minutes in the freaking video library and find something that at least matches with what you're saying. But that's in fact, no, it is kind of glaring. It is really glaring how, I mean, my back was up at the scenes in The Sum of All Fears when they're doing those precision strikes on a Russian airbase and it's clearly a C-130 getting hit. But that's like a few seconds of film, and this is like establishing shots, and it's giving us the lore of what's going on. And it's like, get the equipment right, man. I felt insulted. The
thing is, though, like if you think about this in terms of like 1995, like there weren't as many nerds on the internet like poring over this kind of stuff. Like Jane's is an incredibly expensive publication, so the people who would have known by a glance. I learned most of this from video games. Like in the late 90s, I knew what a hind and a hokum and everything was because I played Jane's Apache longbow.
Yeah, hell yeah. Counterpoint, though. This is all like news footage. This is all like stock footage from the news. This is stuff people would have seen like 4 years previous. The footage of Apaches is from Iraq.
Yeah, I
think
wonder.
it's from, like, literally the opening beats of the Gulf War. It's that iconic footage of the Apaches all in how they're firing in the gun line kind of thing.
Yeah.
People would have a lot of people would have seen this just a few years prior. So I do think it is kind of lazy storytelling. And I mean, I'm going to sound like a bit of a dick, but there'd been a pretty well photographed Chechen war. You could have had footage of Heinz and stuff. You know.
It was ongoing though. I think that's the rub, isn't it? Yeah.
But at the end, they have footage that appears to be from Chechnya.
That's true. Yeah.
I was going to say they do manage in the end. Maybe that's the 5 minutes more of research they add by then.
Yeah.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
They did not fix it in post.
They did not fix it in post.
So the next thing we get after that is Captain Ramsey, Gene Hackman, as the cigar-chomping elder statesman, old and bald, interviewing for his next XO. He's lost an XO to appendicitis, although it's heavily implied that he drove him away for a clash of personalities. And he's interviewing Lieutenant Commander Hunter, who is Denzel Washington. And also present there is the chief of the boat, played by George Zunda. We get a little bit of an initial kind of view of their different personalities. So, Gene Hackman's a straight shooter. He doesn't care if what he says offends you. He's not like one of your hoity-toity educated Navy boys who's done time in Harvard. He came up the hard way and is a blunt instrument, and he's what the Navy wanted in the 1970s. And is he still relevant now? Vice Hunter, who's college educated and obviously thoughtful, but is also an up-and-comer and is a high flyer, hence why he's in the running for this interview. We also meet Gene Hackman's dog. Let's just get that elephant out of the room. It's weird. So, like, they hand-wave it by saying that it's just a weird quirk that, and it's maybe like a tool to show how influential and how highly regarded as an effective operator that Ramsey is, that he's allowed to have this weird eccentricity of having a dog on board and allowed as a thing. That's mad, though. Like, I don't know, it just makes him seem a bit ridiculous.
I mean, that and the fish tank. It's like, what is this, Noah's Ark?
Ryan Felipe's fish tank. How is Ryan Felipe allowed to have a fish tank? I understand the captain getting away with having something mental like that, but it was a fish tank in the middle of the Junior 8's mess. What's going on?
Did you not have a fish tank in your mess?
I think that might genuinely be a bit of a fuck you to the US Navy for not supporting the production of the movie. Just like, fine, we're going to show you guys having a fish tank in your bloody submarine then.
That is an incredibly good call, because the Alabama is portrayed as a little bit of a party boat. When you think about it, there's a guy with a fish tank. The captain cuts around with his little dog peeing on things. There's just dudes dancing to soul music in like the cabins and stuff, and it's like this, sir, is a non-serious vessel. It's like,
yeah, that's weird as well.
Yeah.
So I'm not a submariner, but I have been on ships in various noise quiet states. It seems to me like, right, so an SSBN exists has two functions, right? Okay, so it's obviously a deterrent, it's a nuclear deterrent. So to do that, it has to be able to affect missile release. The other thing that it has to do is not be detected. So the one thing that they're pretty anal about is maintaining a noise quiet state when they're on patrol. And I get the impression that this captain doesn't mess about when it comes to this kind of thing. And neither should the high flying, super duper all over it XO, and neither should the old and bald salt chief of the boat, who is a stickler for the rules. It just, I don't know. So yeah, you're right. It's a bit of a weird party boat. I guess it's meant to show like the morale, a bit of contrast. It's happy now. It's not going to be happy later.
Yeah.
Let's show everything starting off on a good foot and then turning sour. Whereas if it's super serious to begin with, maybe you don't get that communicated to you.
But there are moments when it doesn't even get as super serious as a submarine film normally would. Like, for instance, all the times when the kind of, I'm not sure the modern terminology, but from playing a lot of Silent Hunter, when the rig for silent running, there's still a significant amount of quite loud dialogue and people moving around noisily and stuff, and it's like, it's like when you think of like films like Hunt for Red October, when there's that freaking silence, man, and then it's like, hey guys, I'm partying just a little bit less.
Yeah. So
It's a chill out room.
yeah. So we'll get into that in due course when that kicks off. But yeah, you're right. There is never at any point in this movie the noise quiet state elevating, even when they're like in direct contact with an Akula class hunter killer. Yeah, crazy. The next thing is a quite short scene where the captain briefs the officers and senior rates in a separate room about what their mission's going to be, basically to lay it out for us, the audience, what they're going to go off and do. And then there's a few introductions made. The next thing after that is the crew is amassed and mustered in front of the boat in the absolute pissing rain. Gene Hackman, as Captain Ramsey, gives a big policy broadcast to the ship's company as well about what's going to happen. And whilst I've got a lot to say about Gene Hackman's leadership style, this opening chat actually isn't that bad. This is actually pretty good. Like, he's got a rough way about him, and he says some things that maybe are not PC these days. But in terms of laying out what he expects from the crew and what they can expect from him, pretty clear. Got that message pretty loud and clear. We're going to have to go do a real job. Step up to your A game. If you don't do your A game, I'm going to kick your ass and get you into shape. Fair enough, I think. But what we also see is that Gene Hackman, as Captain Ramsey, has got a pretty toxic leadership style, and it's filtering down to his officers. So it's one of the scenes that Quentin Tarantino's dialogue punch-up has given us. There's a scene in a bus, presumably between that briefing space to the boat, where all the officers are talking. Some of the enlisted guys are getting on the same bus. Anyway, they are discussing various classic submarine movies and who was in them. So they talk about Run Silent, Run Deep, and I think they get some of the trivia deliberately wrong. But they're doing that. And then you meet James Gandolfini's character. Right, this is where I'm going with this. And then another sailor comes on board, and he's a bit rotund, shall we say. James Gandolfini essentially bullies him. So he starts like screaming at him like, "You call me sir, address me as an officer, blah, 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 blah." And he's like, "Get on the ground and give me 20, blah, blah, blah." And just gives him a load of shit for like, no reason. Now we can talk about the realism of whether you'd get a submariner of that build. Bear in mind he has to be able to escape through a kidney hatch. So does that signal that I'm talking too much already? But yeah, so I'll end that point. Basically, James Gandolfini is like seen one as a bit of a twat. And is indicated to us early that he's going to be a heel, I think, in this movie.
Yeah.
On the subject of toxic leadership, I'm going to do a quick plug for a book that I think is fantastic called "Turn the Ship Around" by L. David Marquette, who was the CEO of. He's like a leadership speaker now. He does like events and things and TED Talks and all that kind of stuff nowadays, and writes books. But in his prior career as a submariner in the U.S. Navy, he was the commanding officer of USS Santa Fe as one of his boats, which is a Los Angeles class SSN. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the book too much, but basically what happens is he inherits this boat after the previous CEO's removed, and the boat in question has like the worst rates of re-enlistments for its junior rates, worst rate of junior rates or ratings commissioning up to the officer class and all that kind of stuff. And it's just generally performing pretty poorly. He's got a pretty short timeline in order to get it ready for live ops, and it goes through like the changes he made, basically creating like rather than a leader-follower culture, like a leader-leader culture is what he calls it. He's basically empowering, is probably the wrong word because that implies you have power that you give to somebody else, but he's encouraging, I suppose, some more positive leadership from the petty officers and the chief petty officers and all the people who have been told through their naval career that they're in charge of the boat, but have never had to experience it because on that particular craft, it was the officers very much top-down leadership to the point where like the XO had to like approve every single leave request, that kind of nonsense. Anyway, that's a really good book. Should definitely check it out if you're interested in military leadership in any form. I found it really useful in my career, and yeah, really good. Anyway,
I'm still stuck on the noise state thing because they were going on about like singing and partying. And when we brought that up mentally and compared it to other submarine movies, I just had that scene from Hunt for Red October in my head where the sonar guy goes, "I heard singing." Yeah. I'm just currently picturing like the USS Dallas just right next to the Alabama. What are they doing?
I love it.
I think I can hear New Jack Swing.
New Jack Swing, good.
All the boats, including one way out of Pearl.
The scene when James Gandolfini just starts berating that lad and gets him to do push-ups while making him answer questions about submarine film trivia. It's like, "Mr. Tarantino, I can see your handiwork."
The problem is, right, is like the problem with Quentin Tarantino is you can tell he's writing a mile off.
Yeah.
Because it's always about pop culture and shit like that. When he's doing his like iconic dialogue stuff, and that works okay if it's like quirky characters that you don't need to necessarily know about. Like if it's like criminals come in all shapes and sizes and all forms, right? So you can write whatever you want. You can make a criminal any character you want because all sorts of people are criminals. But like people in the military are kind of like there's a language there. There's a vernacular. There's like a way it kind of goes. And it didn't ring true to me for them to be that way. Don't get me wrong. There's a huge there's a big variation of people in the military as well. But there's like things that just wouldn't happen, and I just don't think that would have happened without that itself becoming an incident. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so something I recently found out was that apparently there was a bit of a confrontation on the set between Denzel Washington and Quentin Tarantino. Apparently Denzel Washington had a bit of a go at Quentin Tarantino due to like people using the N-word in his films. And also, apparently, I've seen some posts on Reddit, which isn't obviously the best place to go for knowledge, but it's a good place to go to kind of see what other people are talking about. And apparently, there's some story that Quentin Tarantino's script punch-up added a lot more of the racial stuff as well, with Gene Hackman's character and the racial tensions. And yeah, apparently Denzel Washington was not happy, and apparently he demanded Tarantino kind of answer to his crimes, and Tarantino's like, can we talk somewhere quietly? And Denzel Washington, who I imagine was still a little bit in character, was like, no, I want to talk to you in front of all the cast and the crew. Like, bloody hell. But yeah, like I could just imagine like Quentin Tarantino walking on set and he's like, God, submarine wouldn't work. That if I was in charge, where's the dancing? Where's the fights over the Silver Surfer? I've got a question for you guys.
Anybody's feet.
Yes. What's going on,
I was going to say, this ops room doesn't have enough bare feet in it.
Exactly.
Where's Pam Grier?
Where is Pam Grier? Pretty much any film's made better by the presence of Dr. Pam Grier.
We have that scene in the wardroom where the officers are all together. They keep calling it the officers' mess in the movie, by the way. It's a wardroom. Even in the US Navy, it's a wardroom. They're having like coffee. They're having a discussion about Karl von Clausewitz. And it's another character establishing moment here between, rough and ready, blunt instrument Ramsey and, namby-pamby thinky boy, Hunter, Denzel Washington. And they have that classic Clausewitz bit that every single officer in navies across the world have discussed, which is, war is the extension of politics by other means, that kind of thing. And they discuss that, and Hunter has his kind of stance, which I think is the fracture in their relationship, the first fissure forming, which is when Hunter says that the true enemy in nuclear war is war itself, and which tells Ramsey that maybe this guy has not got the stones to launch the nukes when he needs to, because he obviously doesn't want to do nuclear war. That doesn't deviate, by the way, from the US's actual policy in nuclear war, really. Like it's built on the founding principle of deterrence. So you amass nuclear missiles so that you may have to use them one day, but you don't really intend to use them. It's just by the fact that you've got so many of them, you're telling the world that, it would be stupid of you to try and do it. It's the classic mutually assured destruction stuff. And so I don't know why Gene Hackman gets so annoyed about it. But what he does get annoyed about is, and he has that really cool line about it, is like, when I went to the Naval Academy, it was metallurgy and nuclear engineering, and they taught me how to get to the right place, the right time, right rig, fire a weapon. And it seems like they want you to know why.
Yeah, and it's like, he is very much like you said, like he's like a blunt instrument. He seems even too eager to be like just nuking everything, and it's a bit wild. It could be argued that maybe he's starting to sun down a little bit, Maybe he's getting a bit of the old dementia kicking in.
I don't know if it's dementia. He's obviously like a really intelligent guy. You can't be the commanding officer of a SSBN without being actually really intelligent.
Dude. Yeah.
He's got like you'll have the mental arithmetic and all that stuff, the tactical strategic thought. He's actually probably selling himself a little bit short, actually, because he has to have a lot more about him.
Yeah,
I
like
think
he kind of acts like a bit of a dumbass, doesn't he? Like, oh, take it away, Vaughn, kind of thing. And it's
Yeah.
like he's kind of like lowering himself a little bit to like look like more of a kind of tough guy. But you're right. I mean, he's gonna be an intelligent dude, and like you said, he's studied metallurgy, he's studied nuclear stuff and that, so he's not a dumbass.
Yeah. I think where what's less plausible, or if we have to imagine a world where someone like him has made it to the commanding officer position of an SSBN, where it trips up, I think, is probably psychologically. So, and I again, right, this is a difficult thing because I don't know any American SSBN captains. Okay, so this is me just speculating. I do know captains of Royal Navy nuclear submarines. I've been on courses with some of them before, and in my experience, yeah, they might talk a bit of the talk that Ramsey does, but they're actually all extremely thoughtful people, and they're all extremely intelligent, and they all ask the questions about why we're doing these things. Now, I appreciate that this movie is set 30 years ago, so there is a bit of a cultural difference, but I don't think it's would have changed that much. I think if you ask anybody about submarine warfare, they'll tell you that it's a thinking man's game. It's a battle of minds, and you can't be able to instrument because you'd be detected. Basically,
Yeah.
if you are stupid enough to think that all you have to do is, never mind the movement, is go straight at him like Nelson, you'll get yourself caught out. It's not that kind of battle.
Yeah.
World according to Lieutenant Commander Dunbar. Right. So let's just get into it. They're doing an exercise, and it's a really cool thing in the movie to show us how it's meant to go. So the movie obviously does the EM message piece, the receiving of the signal, the checking over the signal by the two guys who receive it. They bring the signal up to the XO and the CO. They both check it over. They check the authentication code. They concur, and they go through the drill. And it's really cool that the movie shows us that, because obviously that's going to be the blueprint of how it's meant to go, so that when it invariably doesn't go the way it's meant to go, we know that it's different and that it's aberrant. I like it when movies do shit like that. As that's going off, though, to make the movie more exciting, there is a galley fire. Pretty mega galley fire. It looks like it's gas, which can't be right. There's no way they've got gas on an SSBN, surely. We stopped using gas at sea decades and decades ago. Like, it should be electric, right? I'd understand maybe oil. We still use oil for like fat fires, so it could be a grease fire, but the way it's blasting across the frame, it looks like it's gas, which is probably more of how they achieve the special effect, right?
Yeah, I imagine so.
The flames licking down. For whatever reason, the guys fighting the fire can't make it to the galley isolation. So Denzel leaps through, gets on an Edinburgh really quickly, leaps through the fire, smashes the button that no one else could reach for some reason. Denzel can jump, the other guys can't. I guess.
Buttons for officers only. That's why. You see, the enlisted can't touch it. They got to fill in a form, man.
Bit of a design flaw that the button is substantially high enough that people can't reach it while dressed in basic firefighting rig. That's the other thing as well. Denzel jumps through that fire in basic firefighting rig, just like sleeves rolled down and a hood on. Mental. Yeah. Anyway,
it's absolutely wild.
That happens. Captain Ramsey wants to continue on with the drill. I think this is legitimately demented. Okay, so losing the galley, is pretty significant issue. It's a critical compartment because it obviously governs how you cook and sustain for your guys. Even a minor fire would have resulted in potentially toxic smoke getting around the boat. They obviously don't hit the galley isolation and fixed firefighting system until the fire's pretty significant. They haven't been beaten back yet because Denzel's jumped through it, which is the definition of significant. So they've managed to handle it, but they haven't. I didn't see any other, and this is probably like a damage control thing in a movie. A really good example of this is actually in that mini-series movie of Battlestar Galactica, but for whatever reason, in this movie they don't do it. They don't show smoke boundaries, they don't show isolating other compartments, they don't show crash stopping ventilation, they don't show any of that stuff going on. So there's a potential here that toxic smoke has got around the rest of the boat, and there's toxic smoke in that compartment. The very threat of that should be enough to drop everything. We're dealing with this. This is a pretty significant issue. So it's really serious for a submarine because in order to vent smoke out, they need to surface, or at least get to a depth where they can send something up to affect filtering of air in. So you have to send a pipe up for it to bring in fresh air. There's a term for that. I forgot what it's called. So they've got to do that. Which is serious business for them because that's when they're most vulnerable of being detected. This is the kind of thing that diesel electric submarines still have to do, conventional submarines still have to do this at regular beats just to get air intake for the engines. And that is like when they are at most risk of being detected in anti-submarine warfare. So like for an SSBN on a safeguard patrol to have to do this is pretty serious. They probably do have to do it though, because they need that compartment back. And gold-plated solution is, you know, you'd go alongside a Dr. Chemist would come in, do some chemical monitoring and take Fiji, you can get the compartment back. Real safeguard, warfare, battle fighting conditions, you need to get the smoke out, and then you kind of just take it on risk a little bit, or maybe you use breathing apparatus when you're working in the compartment, noting that also that has an endurance. They were using, I think, Edba bottles. You could do it on a... There's also normally on submarines, Vice, this isn't on surface ships, but on submarines, they normally have a centrally clagged in a fresh air system that people get on board. And it clags into a central thing so they can travel through the boat, maintaining a fresh air throughout. I say fresh air, controlled, breathable air from
air.
there.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you know opinions about that. Fantastic.
Oh, right, yeah. Because so my actual opinion about that, so that's just the beginning bit. My actual opinion on why it's fucking bullshit is later on, Denzel questions this in front of the captain in the control room, saying, "Are you sure you want to do this?" With like, there's a casualty. He's actually like literally a safeguard casualty who ultimately dies as a result of the fire. And then they have a conversation about it back in Hackman's cabin. And I agree with him. I agree with Hackman on the one point, which is we need to show a unified face to the troops. Don't undermine me in front of the guys in the middle of the control room. So I understand that.
Yeah.
I think the way I would have handled that would be say, can we have a word outside for just a second, and then step somewhere a bit more private, and then go, so I think we should cancel this drill right now. We've got a safeguard casualty. He's not looking good. He's going to die. We've had a safeguard fire. Here's my reasons for, because I recommend my BDR part, my battle damage, my BDR priority, it would be to maintain USS Alabama as a life-sustaining platform. It's not to do this fucking drill. It's to keep everyone alive on the boat, because we've actually got a real mission to do. So that ties in my second point, which is Gene Hackman then goes on to say that actually the best time to do an exercise is when there's chaos running. Yeah, it is, but you do that by simulating more stuff in your exercise. So you throw more complexity into the exercise as you go in trained, safe to train conditions. You don't do it when there's a safeguard incident, and that could literally sink you. Because that fire could have easily got out of control. It took them so long to get that fixed firefighting systems operation in the galley could have killed someone if they weren't on air. Like there's so much stuff that could have got, and it did kill someone ultimately. So yeah, right, that's it. That's the end of that. So that is then the battle lines drawn, I think, between those two. They now officially do not see eye to eye about how to run the boat. I think that's the moment where the potential beautiful relationship that could have started sours. Which sets us up perfectly for what happens next, which is when the launch order, the safeguard launch order comes in.
In fact, I've absolutely witnessed Captain Commanding Officer ignore a safeguard call during an exercise. So, unfortunately, it's not that unlikely.
Ooh. So basically that is how it would go down in Germany.
Well, that CO only was CO for little more than half a year, so I don't think that went too well.
Gotta be so careful with this kind of stuff, you know. I understand the impulse, like we've got a job to do. Can we handle both incidents at the same time? Is it sufficiently low enough? But I just don't. You don't mess around with people's actual safety, you know. Like, it doesn't improve lethality of your platform if you just stooge on and try and do an exercise when you've got people safeguard breaking themselves.
Gene Hackman's whole thing, it was his 300 pounds that killed him, not the fire. Yeah, the fire had an effect though, didn't it, mate? It was in play.
Yeah, it was certainly what we'd call a causal factor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the next big bit I'm going to kick off about is the launch order, right? The actual crux of the movie. So the inciting incident of the movie occurs. They receive an EM because this guy is now taking control of the nuclear facility. So the EM comes in, and it's the order to do missile launch. What happens almost immediately after that is another message starts to come in, but and this is like Hollywood, but they're one radio that can that can receive the EM message. The most important thing they'll ever receive. The one single point of failure they've got for that doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to put that to one side because without it, the movie doesn't work.
Our
and then they have the big disagreement. So they've got one positive order to fire. They've got a garbled second message, and Hackman wants to fire the missile. Denzel Washington, as Hunter, says, "I do not concur."
And I do not recognize your authority to relieve me under command under Navy regulations.
Cobb, arrest this man and get him out of here!
Under operating procedures governing the release of nuclear weapons, we cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
Cobb,
now,
what are you waiting for?
Sir. This is expressly why your command must be repeated. It requires...
But then they have this disagreement, and then this is where it really kicks off. So we have, ultimately, Ramsey gets removed from the control room and sent back to his stateroom under armed guard. Or at least guard, and Hunter, the XO, takes command, capital C, command of the vessel.
So this as well, and then of course Hunter then takes the decisive action to attack and destroy the Akula, leading into this excellent kind of cat and mouse chase that they have with it, which I thought was incredibly cool, beautifully shot. But before going to that, it's like, yeah, so I just really like how the film ramps up the tension so much, and just when this film is on, it is on form, man. It is incredibly on form, yeah. Like, damn.
They're arguing when they're yelling over each other.
Yeah, that's
well
like,
done.
Yeah, like it's brilliant. What I keep seeing, like the reviews of the film on Letterboxd for the notes of the peanut gallery, it was quite hard to find stuff that's actually kind of funny, because a lot of the reviews of it's very insightful, and a lot of them come back again and again to it's an action film where almost everything is dialogue, and I think that's brilliant. Like it's a proper dialogue heavy, really really well written drama. It's fantastic. It's great.
It really is, and Tony Scott does such a good job of shooting it, because it's still a really interesting movie to look at.
Yeah, the angles, and some of it's a bit wild, like when they're showing rapid movement through the ship, and you're showing like all those angles of them going down multiple decks, and it's like you start to think just how big is this vessel? You know, it's like it's like, I mean, a wisecrack my dad always made about the TV series Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea was that the USS Seaview was somewhere between the size of a T-class submarine and Taiwan, depending on the plot and depending on what the plot required. And I think that's something that you do see in like a lot of submarine films. That can, you know, if the plot demands it to be big, it has to be tiny. It all works, man.
Tricky one, isn't it? Because SSBNs are massive,
yeah,
but they don't feel massive. Is the thing. So all the because there's still a tremendous economy of space. It's not like it's massive because they've got the freedom to play. It's not like an aircraft carrier. They are cramped on board.
Yeah, well, because I mean, like the missile like tubes on like we're talking about this in Hunt for October, right? How like they've got this like freaking Warhammer 40k cathedral kind of like missile tube layout, and like that's not accessible while at sea, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen the ladder chain that you have, that central ladder chain, that stairwell. Yeah. It's actually a stairwell. I've never seen that before. And I don't know if that's accurate to an Alabama class SSBN. I have been down into I've got to be really careful what I talk about here. I have been on a V boat before, and down the one single ladder chain into that, and that is not the same. That is a literal ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I love that. That seems brilliant.
Let me just write down British submarines have ladders and then
yeah. Uh-oh. They got me. Yeah.
This ladder technology gives Britain the edge. Everybody else is still using lengths of rope or just scaling the bulkheads. I've heard that some nations are trying to... I heard that some nations are trying to evolve humans into Spider-Man so they can just like climb up the bulkheads inside the vessels and have no need for ladders.
Yeah.
Consider escalators.
Until they don't work. Whoa.
Talking about multiple points of failure.
Well, like Mitch Hedberg would have been laughing at that, just watching those escalators become stairs before his very eyes.
I hope his lace gets caught and a bloodbath ensues.
I love this sequence though. So you have again, you have that fissure form. So you have the people who are Captain Ramsey loyalists and people who are happy that Hunter is a voice of reason and a moderating voice, because obviously nobody wants to launch world-ending nuclear missiles apart from Ramsey, who's super keen to do it for some reason. It's not really, you know what? I think if you were to improve one thing about this movie is that you would give Ramsey the humanizing. There's a bit of it at the end, but I think as a through line, if you had Ramsey go, "Of course, I don't want to fire nuclear missiles. I know it would end the world, but I do believe it is my duty if ordered to do so," and just have it be more spelled out that he's acting out of duty and pride.
Yeah, that's very good.
Not pride, but duty, rather than him being bullish and really keen to fire them. Yeah, cool. So they get separated, and then let's talk about the crisis that begins. So obviously a lot of internal tension between the officers and crew, but now there is an external battle as the cooler kicks off.
Which by the way should have taken them to can't fucking read it, but
noise quiet
state.
Ultra noise quiet state. Yeah,
they keep banging on doors and yelling.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I think Tony Scott was like, you know what, it's a movie, don't care. But yeah, you're right. They're slamming hatches, they're feeding fish, they're
and busting out one of my favorite quotes: "Con sonar, holy shit, sir!"
yeah.
You know, I've got one question. So commonly, submarines are referred to as boats, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And they've got a chief of the boat.
Correct.
Why does the CO keep referring to it as a ship? It pisses me off.
Unintentional, made by the filmmakers.
I was going to ask that same question. So it is actually a goof, and like there's not some kind of, there wasn't some point when that for like I don't know, like a few months in the 90s started calling submarines that are well known to be boats as ships.
Correct. They're meant to be called boats. So whilst the Royal Navy and, again, the US Navy, whilst the prefix for those vessels is HMS, USS, as in like United States ship, Her Majesty's ship, or His Majesty's ship now, they are still referred to as boats. They are, for the many reasons that we call things ships and boats, is a boat.
I mean, also they'd lose a bit of the gravity if they were called like the USB Alabama.
Yeah, RNB.
Not the US.
Shit, you've got to turn it upside down and try and fit it in that way.
Yeah.
In fairness, His Majesty's boat sounds vaguely unthreatening.
It's just the king in a little rowboat just sculling about.
I used to be second in command of a unit that had Royal Navy motorboats, RNBs.
Get in.
But yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, so Akula class fight kicks off. Yeah, really good. Really filmmaking wise, I was to take my Navy head off. I would say really good action cinema. Like genuinely, it's fast paced. The music is great. Hans Zimmer, brilliant music. The tension is there. A lot of the visual language of it is tricky to do, and they pull it off. So there's two competing things going on. One, the sonar operator plays a major part of the battle, but you can't show a realistic waterfall sonar display to the general public and expect them to interpret what's going on. Nor can you have just the guy screaming at the terminal and then just cut to showing an actual waterfall display, because it just wouldn't make any sense and it wouldn't be very thrilling to watch. And you haven't got the time to like teach the audience how to interpret a waterfall display either. That would be a really boring movie. Not for me, but for other people, it would be very boring, you know? So they do that. So they simplify that display. And when I say simplify, they make it into a weird mixy blob of a raw radar feed and an ARPA radar feed. So you have like sweep lines, like a radar. Bearing in mind that those sweep lines are there because there's something literally spinning
physically spinning
around. There's nothing underwater spinning for those sweep lines. And then the other thing is because they need to use the visual language of color to dictate who the friendly things are and who the enemy thing is, and what the torpedoes are versus what the vessel is. And they have this weird thing where the Akula contact comes up as like a red oval, and when it fires torpedoes, little green ovals come out of it, and they also move really, really smoothly, despite the fact the sweep lines, again, going around, they're not refreshing with the sweep lines, they are just transiting across. Now, you do get certain feeds that can do stuff like that, but it's more like a command system, which is taking that feed as one of the many inputs, putting it through a data distribution unit, and then showing you a screen with something else on. You wouldn't have sweep lines necessarily on that unless it was part of a radar image overlay. So another movie that it falls foul of this in the legacy of Tony Scott is Top Gun Maverick. On the aircraft carrier shows you like a really weird mixy bob of a radar feed and a command system feed. Anyway, I'm being boring. So that's one bit. The second bit is movies always show submarines moving silently through the water at a slow pace. because that's how we understand submarines to maneuver. It doesn't sit right for us that submarines would go fast, especially model submarines, which we're using here. We're using model work. It would look fake, I think, and uncanny to our eyes. However, a lot of the combat in this is predicated on the use of seduction countermeasures.
Yeah.
And the way seduction countermeasures work, and in fact, the way this battle works. So, one, the way the seduction countermeasures work is that you have to have lateral separation between yourself and the countermeasure for it to work. Because you're trying to draw something away from you and towards the countermeasure. So they need to have that separation of distance. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. The second thing about that is a big part of the fight is that the boat has to establish minimum range away from the Akula in order to fire its own torpedoes to arm. So they need to get at least 1,000 yards away, which is actually a really small distance. It's like half a mile. They've got to get like 1,000 yards away before they fire their own ones. But again, in the exterior shots that we see, everything looks like it's moving really slow. And now this is a weird thing because SSBNs are underwater cathedrals, and they've got a lot of horsepower, and they've got, nuclear engines, and they actually can go pretty quick. So they could have shown them going a bit faster. I thought that's my only other sort of Navy-wise kind of dissection of that. But otherwise, really, really good. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say I saw a little smile on Sanya's face when we talked about the safety ranges of torpedoes, because you were thinking of a certain Captain Tupolev, weren't you, mate?
Arrogant ass.
You arrogant ass. You killed us.
Oh. Rest in peace to a real one.
Yeah, man, so good.
I liked how it really kind of shows like a three-dimensional kind of aspect of the submarine warfare as well, especially with it being like right on top of them at one point. And again, the model work is really cool. This is like, again, you see these things from the mid-90s that are like really heavy on model work, and it looks really good and really realistic. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of years later, people pivoted to CGI, and then we look back at it, and it's like, what the hell is this PS1 cutscene that I'm watching in the cinema right now?
I'm going to do a rare compliment towards U.S. Marshals here. The aeroplane crash at the start of U.S. Marshals is all major work, and it looks amazing.
It's amazing. It's really good.
If you look at the aeroplane crash in Air Force One, one of the worst CGI effect shots of all time.
I actually can't remember that scene from Air Force
We'll cover that eventually, and you'll see it. It's diabolical. There's a really good YouTube video of a guy who's done his own version of it using computers now.
Yeah.
And you see them side by side, and it's like, yeah, that's what we could have won had we had that kind of rendering power back in 1997. But diabolical.
Yeah. Dear listeners, we've got about 172 films on this list, by the way, so just to let you know, we're probably not going away anytime soon. Yeah. I think as well, when you look at like the visual kind of storytelling of films like this, you got to look at it in like a kind of continuum with other things and like other media. Like Hunt for October came out and I'm going to keep referring to this not because it's the gold standard of submarine films, even though it kind of is one of the top ballers. It's up there. 90 came out.
Correct.
In the 5 years between this film coming out and Hunt for October coming out 5 years previously, when you look at other media and stuff, you've got like the kind of upscaling and the technological leaps in video games work with us on here. That in Hunt for October, a significant amount of the storytelling of like the action sequences, like the Red Route 1 sequence when they're just booling at high speed, a lot of that's told with stopwatches, right? Because your average kind of like vision of how a submarine works at the time wasn't as, here's a screen with an icon on it and it's moving and stuff. 1995 comes around, Windows 95 has just come out. It's really exciting. Everyone's pumped about the little start button. Microsoft's blasted its budget on licensing Start Me Up by the Rolling Stones for its adverts. And so you do see more kind of screens that, like you said, are very much fakey, like something from a computer game kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Because that's kind of what's expected at this point, I think. So part of it's to tell the people how it's going on, but the other half is it's expected. work in general in life at that point for regular people is becoming a lot more computerized and stuff, and so it's kind of got to really be done like that. And you've got your little icon that appears saying submarine type, cooler, manufacturer, USSR, because that's what you're expecting to see on like things like computer games and stuff. So I think that's kind of an effect of other media and the presentation of these kind of situations in it. Just my humble thoughts, but you know.
That's cool. The display for identifying the track, I don't know, I wouldn't say that's particularly accurate, but the concept is the analysis, the computer aided analysis of a sonar, like sound of a track, either a surface vessel or submarine, and then it pointed it to a known track in the library, and going like suspect Akula, suspect Sovereign, whatever.
Yeah,
that's legit. That's a real thing.
Yeah, cool, man.
So during this, they do get, so they kill the Akula. The Akula gets one final shot off before it's sunk, however, and that does detonate pretty close to them and does take out some of the boat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So during that, we have some fire, we have some flooding, we have some struggles to achieve ballast. Yeah, harrowing. So the flooding scene is what I was going to go into. Grim AF.
Jesus, yeah.
It's particularly sad because obviously the compartment's filling up. You've got Steve Zahn down there. Love Steve Zahn, and somebody else. I'm not sure who it is. Is it Ryan Felipe? Don't know. Down there. Anyway, and they've been told, look, we've lost that compartment. I need to seal that compartment. Denzel's showing that he is not the namby-pamby soft officer that everyone was worried that he was going to be, because he is willing to do probably the hardest thing he'll ever do in his military career, which is shut a hatch on somebody in the middle of a damage control effort and subject them to their fate. The real tragedy of it is that the only reason that Steve Zahn and the other guy don't leave the compartment is because they can't hear over the sound of the water as they're trying to isolate the valve. Yeah, really horrible.
Yeah,
really
that's freaking heartbreaking, man. When like, because obviously that like guys like shouting commands for them, get out of there. They're having like a whole different conversation down because of the sound of the water, and that's really, really horrifying, man.
And then his fate is sealed when that, like the header cap of the valve just smashes in the grid, and it's horrible.
Yeah,
visceral, and the blood and everything. Oh my god. Yeah, really grim. And then there's the score at that point as well, Hans Zimmer's score, where they match. So during the initial diving of the boat, his score kind of gives away to a choir singing Eternal Father, Strong to Save, the naval hymn, and then it has a reprise during that sequence as he's like, head trauma, drowning, compartment getting sealed, for those in peril on the sea.
Yeah.
Absolutely chilling, man.
Yeah. Absolute needle drop.
Yeah, God, grim. Throughout this whole sequence, we've got that one engineer, radio operator, stroke maintainer, whose main effort is trying to get that EAM thing back online.
Yeah, the Star Trek fan.
Yeah. That's another bit of Quentin
Tarantino punch up, yeah.
Oh, so annoying.
I can just imagine Tarantino coming in with his black sports jacket and his white shirt with too many buttons open, and he just bangs a line of coke off that little red baseball cap that Gene Hackman's wearing, and he's like, "We gotta get a Trekkie in this film," because now Captain Kirk, that's a captain, and like, it's just what.
Did you know that Fiona Apple, the singer-songwriter,
yes,
she got clean because she spent one night with Quentin Tarantino when he was high on coke, and she was like, "I'm never doing that again. I'm never exposing myself to cocaine ever again."
Good grief, man.
Yeah. It's absolutely accurate, man. He's so tedious. This guy is like a operator maintainer of a radio.
Yeah.
I don't think that Denzel Washington needs to talk to him like a baby and go like, you're going to be Scotty and I'm going to need that bit more power. Like, dude, how about do your fucking job? I've literally just committed an act of war by killing about 200 probably Russian sailors.
Yeah.
Before I end the world, please, unfuck this radio now.
Yeah. It's absolutely mental. I mean, the Silver Surfer thing, God forgive me, I can kind of get how, because it shows Denzel what, because there's a point to it, right, in the end, because it shows Denzel Washington, kind of, just in storytelling terms, that Denzel Washington is the kind of guy who's able to meet people on their level, and he's like, anyone who reads comic books knows that whatever Silver Surfer's the best. And that's a counterpoint to when Gene Hackman's got his gun against someone's head and he's having a look at this guy's like you know, like yeah. And like he's having a look at this guy's friggin' name badge. So it's like that's the kind of storytelling point counterpoint kind of thing, isn't it? But there's no real point to the Star Trek thing, other than hey guys, you know what you love.
I'm gonna pose my level on you. Yeah. It's a really good point that about the Silver Surfer thing, because I took it to be as a bit of a leadership misstep by Denzel Washington there, because it shows a little bit of favoritism. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're a supervisor. You could be going to Annapolis. You could be an officer. Like, everyone knows you're my favorite. I just didn't like that, because it shows a little bit of favoritism from Denzel Washington, who's meant to be like a down the line.
I wanted to get your opinion on the whole, you're a supervisor, why are you doing this? Because you can get commission kind of thing. I wanted your opinion on that. So, yeah. Okay,
so I don't apportion intrinsically more value to having a commissioned vice remaining an enlisted person. They're two very different career tracks. So for me, as an officer, and having been a rating to me is a subject matter expert, and they will, and I always refer to my chiefs for their more advanced knowledge than me in certain aspects of their job, especially when it comes to like how kit works and the by the book application of very specific doctrine for how you do very specific tasks. So on that aspect, so yeah, on the other hand, if you see the potential in someone to be able to do that and excel in it, I've done it before. I've told people they should consider getting their papers raised and going to Dartmouth, and I've helped people through that process. I always support sailors who want to do that, because any person can walk off the street and go into an armed forces career office and start that process. Just go, I want to become an officer, and they go, right, cool, fill out this form and we'll do a sit interview, go through the steps. It annoys me that you get sailors who go to their divisional chain of command and express that, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure about that, so we're going to think about that, and I'm going to come back to it at some point and just get your task week finished, and blah, 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 and kind of like put up these artificial roadblocks. I think, if he wants to do it, it's his life, his career. Ultimately, the only thing that's different is that you have to give a recommend as their DO, so that you're not kind of quote unquote wasting the selection board's time. But I think it's a bit rich that any civilian can go off and do that and waste the selection board's time, but a sailor who's already demonstrated they can get through training as a disciplined person, is showing ambition. I do take them through like planning exercises and like the leadership stuff and interview and that kind of thing, just to gauge how driven they are to do it. But I'm always really keen to help people, genuinely help people as much as they possibly can if they come to me for that kind of thing. Cool. We're probably going to cut that out because it was really dull.
I was going to say, now this episode's becoming a masterclass on leadership. It's actually mint. We are now a film, defense, and leadership and comedy podcast. We just keep adding specializations on.
You've sent promotions to commander.
So the next thing that happens is mutiny occurs. So a mutiny and counter mutiny. So we have James Gandolfini raids the world's biggest small arms store, and everyone gets absolutely tooled up.
There's even ammunition for a belt fed in there, and I'm not sure, but I think it might be 50 caliber ammunition. I might be wrong, but it's like
that's some big rounds.
Was a fucking belt fed on a modern day SSBN, man? It's wild stuff.
It is wild. It's crazy. So that happens. They take control of the boat back off Denzel. And this is quite cool actually. So for the last 60 minutes of the movie, there's a running countdown of the time for the suspected launch window for the ultra-nationalists' seized nuclear weapons. So you've got that kind of running in the background is counting down, and it runs pretty much in real time.
Yeah.
So that's really cool, and that adds a bit of tension to what's going on. Some real stakes, because it's like, right, if we don't launch now, and they do launch, we are screwed.
I love when a film goes into real time, like when there's just like kind of like films like films that are completely shot and it's all real time are cool. Films when it goes into real time, like right, the last like 30 or 60 minutes, it's game time. It's class. It's so cool, man. See, we keep mentioning the ultra nationalists. I know you're aware, and as you mentioned, Michael Schiffer worked on one of the Call of Duty games.
A bunch of them.
And I'm just, you know what it is? I wonder if it was one of the ones that has has ultra nationalists in it.
I'll check for you. It was some of the early ones, and remember No Russian. I bet he did. Let's have a look.
Because, yeah, I mean, that's like ultra-nationalist, that one, isn't it? It's, oh, no, so he did Call of Duty 2.
Finest Hour and the original Call of Duty.
So, no, he didn't do the ones with the ultra-nationalists and stuff. Because I thought, you know, was he mentioning that? I thought, I wonder if he's just, like, rehashing a few ideas he previously had.
He also
and
wrote
making Call of Duty scripts.
So he's written all this military stuff and like in the nuclear techno thrillers and stuff. He also wrote Le Divorce with Kate Hudson and Naomi Watts. So yeah, we have the countdown going on, and Hackman's taking control of the boat again. Washington tweets to him that like we've nearly got this radio fixed. The radio guy pipes up, "I've nearly got the radio fixed. We can get the rest of the message." Hackman, to his credit, meets him halfway and says, "Look, you've got like it's like 14 minutes till the missile launch." He's like, "Right, you've got 7 minutes." In order so he can still effect a first strike, I suppose. And yeah, meets them halfway and they do get it fixed. The message comes in, and I think it's really well done because they go through the whole rigmarole of like verified,
yeah,
I concur,
I
authenticated,
that, yeah.
I concur. They both read it, I concur, and then finally it's only when Hackman grabs the gobstick that he says like abort nuclear launch and that kind of stuff. I've missed a couple of bits before that, sorry, which is Viggo Mortensen's character, and him getting the gun held to his head, and then, as you mentioned earlier, Hackman holding the gun to peel Hilar's head, which is Scott Grimes, the actor Scott Grimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the tension ratcheting up, and the critical node being the one combination that Viggo Mortensen knows to get into the safe to get out the launch keys.
Yeah, I mean that's the point when you see just this excellent kind of you see Gene Hackman's reaction in the character's kind of self realization that he knows he's messed up at this point.
Yeah.
Cat, get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But which one is that, Laszlo, or is that?
This is little Lazzy B. He was just meowing at the door, so I've let him.
Oh, here, little man, a clear and present cat. Jeez.
For our viewers on YouTube and Spotify.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, just a cat.
Just a cat.
Yeah, you're absolutely right though. So that's when I think Hackman takes a look at himself and realizes like, what am I doing? I'm holding it.
Yeah. He realizes that he's lost in the sauce at this point, and he's
threatening Aragorn.
He's lost the plot. Yeah, threatening Aragorn. Exactly. It's like,
you know, you've fucked up when you're holding a gun to Aragorn, son of Arathorn's head. My brother, my captain, my king. Yeah,
Friends,
my brother, my exo, my king.
For absolutely no one.
Incredible scenes.
Yeah. So as I say, they finally had the resolution. They've got the second message. It was to call them off to abort. They do abort. Everyone breathes a massive sigh of relief. Actual cheering breaks out on board because everyone's glad that we're not going to end the world today. I would probably be pretty glad too. And the mutiny is essentially quashed. And I imagine you don't see it because it just cuts straight back to like the end sort of scene. But probably the most awkward week or two patrolling back.
Yeah, sailing back with dead shipmates.
I would have hated to have been in that wardroom. Those meal times must have been diabolical.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Like, just like you're tooling around with your essentially dead homies in the trunk. It's horrible.
Yeah. This is the captain. Mum and dad are getting a divorce.
Yeah.
It's nothing that you guys have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, awkward. And then we have the final sequence. They're having a meeting with Admiral James Robard, who we of course will see in a few years' time in Enemy of the State. He was Ben Bradley in All the President's Men, and he says, and I totally agree. Look, this it's incredible. This has happened. Like we have these safeguards specifically for this situation that were not followed. The end result essentially is that they were both right and they were both wrong. I would say some of the stuff that he was worrying about, it's not his job to worry about it. The weapons release piece, not necessarily kind of his bag to worry about. I get he had the initial order, second order. I think his real duty was to find out what the second order was. Easy to say that in hindsight, isn't it? But yeah, I do feel like, and then the kind of the movie kind of hammers home a point on that by saying that weapons release for submarines from now on is controlled directly by the President of the United States.
Thank God for that, man.
Oh yeah, that's what you want.
Right, yeah,
A very,
that's a relief.
a very small, steady pair of hands on that button.
Thank God for that, man. It's like, I mean, for one, there's a story when apparently Richard Nixon got so wasted that he wanted to order Cambodia be nuked, and Henry Kissinger had to like talk him down apparently. And the wild thing is, because I'm like watching a lot of Venture Brothers at the minute, I keep thinking of Dr. Henry Killinger. And just like, if you haven't seen Venture Brothers, none of this is working on like a kind of visual level, but just like his little skull mask. And he's like, Mr. President, do not nuke Cambodia. Have a sleep instead. Go to bed. Look into my mystical bag of murder. It's like, that's a really deep, weird cut. And I'm very sorry. But it's awesome that the US president's got the ability to do that. It's awesome.
It's a period of unparalleled stability for everybody. Nobody's
Amazing.
worried about it at all.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. If aliens are listening to this podcast as they look over just the scorched earth that's just in a radiated wasteland, yet somehow have picked up this broadcast off the internet, we're sorry. Sorry, man.
I'm going to listen to the audiobook Nuclear War, a Scenario by Annie Jacobson. And if you want something to really creep you out and make you fear for impending nuclear crisis, that is the book to go for. It goes through like, literally, there's a chapter on like what happens after the first 4 seconds, and then it's like, 2 minutes, and then like 24 minutes later. Honestly, it's a breathtaking detail. But at the beginning of the book, it goes through a list of everyone that she interviewed to piece together, and it's like senior members of government, like the CIA director, defense secretaries, everything. Yeah, it's really, really well researched. Fascinating. I'm not all the way through it yet. But yeah, really, really, really good book. Cool. Final thing, I suppose. One last little bit of irritating Quentin Tarantinoism is that whole chat about Lipizzaner's.
Yeah, what?
I don't know if this is deliberate or not, but is it Ramsey? Is Ramsey insists they're from Portugal and Hunter insists they're from Spain or vice versa.
Yeah.
They're both wrong. They're from Slovenia. So I don't know if that's meant to be like a indication that they're both wrong and that's like the whole point, or if it's just like, you know what I mean?
Brief, yeah.
But the whole thing is just smacks of Tarantino, and it's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's already enough kind of story beats that illustrate the difference of opinion, of character, and of personality between the two guys. You don't need to put in the weird, actually, these racist horse analogies are from this country. Actually, you're wrong, dickhead. They're from this country, and I'm still really racist. You know,
that is the racist thing, isn't it? Yeah, it's the whole like the horses are all white, and actually no, they're born black, and okay.
Yeah, and if the stories are true,
They also only are still around because Patton stole them and stopped the Russians from eating them. But
now that's the real story this film should be digging into. That incredibly based of Patton.
And probably the only based thing Patton has ever done, to be fair.
100%. Yeah.
Not often you hear based and Patton in the same, unless you're talking about Will Patton, who was incredibly based.
You have no idea what man of power can do.
Legend.
I was about to say something there as well. I can understand why Denzel Washington was really riled up if the whole Lipizzaner things and let's inject some weird kind of racism by Quentin Tarantino, the whitest man in the world. Quentin Tarantino was the whitest guy in the world, and I can kind of see why Denzel Washington would have been a bit kind of honked off that, you know, this guy's just writing this because it was unnecessary. And
they would have been shooting this at the same time like Pulp Fiction came out.
Yeah.
And if you think about like some of the stuff that Tarantino himself says in that movie, it's like, ugh, I don't know how he can. And you know, maybe he uses the whole like, you know, some of my best friends are black excuse because obviously Samuel L. Jackson's there for most of it. But I don't know.
What if I'm
black?
Yeah. What if I'm singing along to my favorite rap song while I'm riding my Lipizzaner stallion? You know,
ridiculous.
Yeah, like they're like it's like, well, come on, as Saanje said, some of my most intelligent horses are black.
God damn, let's just shoot them. What's 1,000 yards for?
Because it takes 1,000 yards for the torpedoes to arm. Jesus, so you're fucking it on this ship.
One full countermeasure. Sir, super impact. Super impact. Ornamental on the Almond mechanism, groups 2 and 4. Snapshot 2 and 4.
Snapshot 2 and 4. 2 spiders, please, sir.
Categories, gentlemen, for this amazing movie. Okay, so first one, casting. Guys, that ladies. I won't do Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman because they are titans of cinema. That we
I
should
remember those titans. I'm
this?
sorry.
But we have, I'll just go from a little list. We've got Matt Craven, who played Zimmer, Lieutenant Zimmer. He's in the other movie we were talking about doing this week, A Few Good Men. He was in that show Under the Bridge last year with Lily Gladstone. Don't know if you saw that. He was in The Pacific, and he was in Deja Vu by Tony Scott and starring Denzel Washington as well. So he became a repeat customer. We got...
Sorry, and he played the CIA director in X-Men First Class.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Everything comes back to those 3 letters.
Speaking of that, we've got George Dazunda, who played the chief of the boat, who we, of course, know from No Way Out.
Yes.
Awesome. And he was in The Deer Hunter, and he was also the partner of Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct, which we did talk about last
I
time.
know, and of course, George Zunza was a German, much like our Saanje. He was Bavarian, actually, Saanje.
For him.
Oh, try to fish him in, try to reel in a big one, but it didn't work.
Right,
got
I'm trying
got
to
off the
just
hook.
prod.
It's October. I am electing to ignore Bavaria.
Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn, son of Arathorn. Enough said.
Yeah, he's been in a few films.
Did you know that he did break his toe in that?
He's not really. Did you know? I did know. James Gandolfini, Tony Soprano, 0 Dark 30, in the loop. Last Castle, Robert Redford, True Romance, another Tony Scott movie. The guy's a legend. Not really that guy.
I loved that when they went to the luxuriously equipped small arms locker, everybody's got a Beretta M9 or a 92, apart from James Gandolfini, who's like, "Hey, forget about it." And he's got the one Colt 1911 that's on the ship that I'm. But you and Ollie say, you say I'm so ship-pilled by the dialogue in the film. But yeah, it's like I'm flip-flopping on that kind of having a headcanon that James Gandolfini just brought his own piece one day.
Yeah.
Because I think I've said this before, but if you look at like a lot of these Steven Seagal money laundering era films, I think he's using his personal sidearm in a lot of them because there's the same kind of busted old 1911 that he's using. But it's funny as hell because he still can't shoot with it. Like, he blinks when he shoots, and it's terrible. That's a whole other shit show. But yeah, like, I love the fact that just the most mob-coded character is packing a good old 1911, baby. Back-to-back 2 World Wars winner. Forget about it. Single stack magazine, 9mm kills the body, 45 kills the soul. Big bullets, son.
Steve Zahn, who was in The White Lotus a few years ago, was in Silo this year. One of the best things about that season. Rescue Dawn, Sahara, War for the Planet of the Apes,
yes,
as well. Steve Zahn, love Steve Zahn. Ryan Felipe, we talked about already. Cruel Intentions.
Yeah.
Gosford Park as well. Robert Altman's, was that his last film? Might have been. Scott Grimes as Pio Hilar. Malarkey in Band of Brothers.
Yes.
And he was in The Orville. I haven't watched that show very much, but I'm aware he's in it. And he got his kind of big break as a cast regular in ER back in the day as well. The Ginger Doctor. Daniel von Bargen, I think I'm saying that right, is our Russian ultra-nationalist. Gee, all right, I'm going to start that all again.
So the Russian ultra-naturist, he's like, we must be nude all the time. Mother Russia demands your nudity.
States.
Mother Russia demands you to be naked in Siberia, Tovarish.
Daniel van Bargen is who plays the Russian ultra-nationalist is Kruger in Seinfeld from Kruger's Industrial Smoothing. He was also in The Postman. He was also in RoboCop 3, The Bad RoboCop, and he was in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Got it out there.
Do you know what would have been like a really good, like, just like a bit of a wink to the fans, which actually would have made the film terrible and unwatchable, would be if George Costanza's dad just like thinned him out like he did in the series. You couldn't smooth out silk sheets if you had a hot date with a babe.
I like that's the CNN footage.
Yes.
It's over. It's all over. Reporting live from FS Fox.
It's just fucking old man Costanza just like bitching about at a press conference that he somehow got into.
Danny Nucci is the sonar supervisor, TSM, I think. The guy who prefers the Kirby era Silver Surfer. He was in The Rock.
Yeah.
And Titanic and Alive, the famous Cannibalism in the Andes movie. And then finally, we got Lilo Brancato, who was the radio operator maintainer. He was in A Bronx Tale, The Sopranos, and worked with Tony Scott again in Enemy of the State. Cool. Should we do some quotes from the movie?
So, of course, like I said, one of my favourite ones is the con sonar, holy shit, sir, it's right on top of us. Simply because I like the fact that he's maintaining the proper format of the message, in that he's like, you know, saying, oh, hello, Con, this is sonar, and then he's losing his rag. Holy shit, sir, it's brilliant. I'm trying to find the one particular one that I really liked as well.
While you do that, I was a big fan of Captain Ramsey's policy broadcasts. It says, all I ask is that you keep up with me. If you can't, then that strange sensation you'll be feeling in the seat of your pants will be my butt in your ass.
I love that, man.
Like I say, good expectation management.
Yeah. So the whole is line to Hunter in the opening beats the film when they're on like the sail of the submarine, so it's heading out of port, and he's like, I'm going to give you a tiny bit of advice if you want to run boats someday. The very worst you can do is worry about yourself or try to impress me. I can't stand save asses, and I won't abide kiss asses, and I really like that. Save asses and kiss asses, that's good. And the thing is, this is when it's still trying to show you that this guy's a good leader and stuff. And like, genuinely, that's like good. Kind of like, I mean, if I was in a job, a new position, and someone's like, look, just trying to impress me, just do a good job, you know? Yeah, that's actually cool, because, you know, obviously you work with people in management roles and stuff who really do love having a kiss ass around them.
The interesting thing about Hackman at the start of this is that he is saying the right stuff. I don't know if he walks that walk particularly well. I think he would if he fundamentally agreed with Hunter's worldview, but I think once that schism comes in, that's kind of off the menu. It is frustrating though, because that relationship, the CO-XO relationship on any kind of warship is super important for it to be truthful, honest, and kind of also harmonious. Nothing worse than a ship where the CO and the XO do not get along. The other thing you don't want is just a pure yes man. You don't want the XO to just be like, yes sir, no sir, and just going with every single one of the CO's good ideas. The CO needs you to be that kind of moderating voice, that because you are meant to be the person who has the his ears to the ground, has the vibe of the, I was going to say men, but the workforce.
Especially in this situation, when one of the main functions of the XO is to concur or not concur with.
These are critical check or balance.
Nuclear missiles, yeah.
Yeah. And it's the kind of thing that at this level of command, it's a weird one as well, because it takes quite a lot of balls for Hunter to step up here, whilst he is backed by regulation. He's a 2.5 lieutenant commander. He's probably gusting commander, and would almost certainly get promoted out of this draft. Ramsey is a 4-ring captain, and is probably, judging by his demeanour, is probably topped out at captain. He kind of runs his bit of roost, but he is not a politician and is not going to make flag rank. That's the impression you get from it. A bit like Maverick in Top Gun Maverick. He's a foreign captain. He's not. He's never going to be an admiral. He's an operator primarily. So yeah, it takes quite a large amount of moral courage for Hunter to step up in this situation, and that's kind of what you need as an XO. The only thing that you don't see enough of from Hunter in this movie is being a genuinely good XO in terms of managing executive standards of the platform. He should have been all over that noise quiet state stuff. He should have been all over the damage control firefighting stuff. He shouldn't have been donning a suit and jumping into the fire. He should have been in charge of the incident.
He should have told Ryan Felipe to get his fish off the boat.
Oh yeah, that thing shouldn't have left all that bloody fish tank on board.
Get that fish tank out of here, sailor. What? Mental.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Quotes. How'd you like that cigar? It's good, sir. Well, don't like it too much. They're more expensive than drugs.
I love that one. That was so good. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. Oh, God. Captain Ramsey. I don't trust air I can't see. I love that. That's
yes,
good as well.
Last.
He's got great quotes.
He really does. He really does. And it's just an absolute brilliant performance by our kind of saint of the podcast that is Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant. It's just the guy exudes menace when he wants to. He shows vulnerability when he wants to as well. Like there's the scenes when he's like in his cabin when he does look like legitimately outnumbered and cowed by the world briefly. You know, when he's at bay, when he's held, like he like, you know what I mean? Like his performance, he shows this like excellent bit of vulnerability while also being a fucking psycho, you know?
This is it.
Yeah.
This is why he's such a good character. He's quite complex. Like I said, he is a genuinely intelligent guy. He's not a mad cowboy.
Yeah.
We're here to preserve democracy, not practice it.
That one's brilliant. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I really agree with that. That's exactly how it runs. It's one of the greatest ironies of military service that it's an autocracy created to defend democracy. Yeah, no, it's absolutely true.
Okay, Mobius, open the door.
The chain of command's the chain I beat you with.
But just like the scene when Rivetti kicks off with the guy who he previously had the dust up with when he's, you know, standing guard and he's like belting him and he kicks his ass and he's like, you know, unlock the door, Mobius.
Class.
Good grief.
What else we got? Needle Drops. So soundtrack by Hans Zimmer, and I already talked about Eternal Father. That's pretty much it for this movie. IMDb trivia is really good for this movie. There's a lot of really good stuff.
I'm excited.
So we've talked about some of it already. We talked about Quentin Tarantino, all that kind of stuff. One really cool thing is, as I mentioned at the beginning of the movie, the US Navy did not sanction or support the filming of this movie in any way, apart from, I think, the provision of one retired technical advisor. So, to get the footage of the Alabama-class submarine diving, they got a tip-off. Tony Scott and the film crew, the producers, got a tip-off from a sailor that there was a boat movement happening out of Pearl, and they got a helicopter, a private helicopter, and overflew the sub whilst it was on the surface. He got in touch with it with a VHF, told it to leave, essentially, and it didn't leave. And in order to stop being filmed, the boat dived, which is exactly what they wanted to happen.
Get in, that's actually amazing.
Yeah, it's cool as.
That's
yeah,
brilliant.
The US Navy found the subject of the film objectionable and inaccurate, and I think they were concerned about the breakdown of naval discipline that kind of took place on board with the mutiny and stuff. It's not cool, is it? Quite funny though, because this is 9 years after Top Gun, Tony Scott, Bruckheimer, Simpson, and the Navy couldn't get enough of that. And there's a fair bit of breakdown of military discipline in that movie too.
Yeah.
Proceeding below the hard deck and all that good jazz. The movie.
So they got away with that shit, right?
Yeah, that's it. Classic flyboys, waffles.
Flyboys.
The founding premise of the movie is kind of based on a bit of a true story from during the Cuban Missile Crisis. As a Soviet submarine, B-59, attempted to infiltrate the US Navy blockade by running submerged. By doing so, it had been put out of contact with its central submarine command in Moscow. And then when the US destroyers started dropping signal depth charges to force the submarine to the surface, the Soviet captain, Valentin Grigorovich Savitsky, believed that war had broken out between the US and the Soviet Union. His sentiments were concurred on board by the political officer, a guy called Ivan Simonovich Malasinikov, However, Savitsky's second-in-command, Vasily Akrapov, who was also the flotilla commodore, refused. All three needed to agree before launching, but because they were out of contact for so long with no clear orders, Akrapov convinced the captain to surface, and they found themselves surrounded by US destroyers. However, their comms were re-established, and they received orders to return home, therefore averting nuclear war. Crazy.
This stuff, man.
Yeah, so that's obviously 1962 when that happened. Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
Washington took the role just so he could play opposite Gene Hackman. That's pretty cool. Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer originally offered Val Kilmer one of the headlining roles, but he declined. And years later, Kilmer noted it was one of the few films that he wished he had agreed to be in. The role offered to Kilmer was never formally specified, but could have been, I think, Hunter or Wepps, probably.
Yeah, probably a bit too young to be the captain, I think, at this point, like the Gene Hackman role.
Yeah.
Plus, I imagine, I bet they got Gene Hackman cast early for this and used that as like, hey, we've got Hackman playing a turbo, pissed off submarine captain to get some more people in. You know, he was definitely
absolutely.
He was the hook for this project.
Here's a cool behind the scenes fact. So the bridge set for I say bridge, control room set for the submarine was built on a big, huge hydraulic gimbal so it could rotate and stuff while they were doing it. Same one that they used for the Hunt for Red October. I kept mentioning there was a technical advisor for the movie. Kip Beard is listed as a technical advisor, and he was a commanding officer of the real USS Alabama.
Get in.
And he can be seen in the Board of Inquiry scene. He's the man with no hair sitting next to James Robard. So that's the one technical advisor they did get. Guess who passed on the role of Captain Ramsey? Tommy Lee Jones.
That would have been good casting as well.
Al Pacino was also off the role of Captain Ramsey, and Brad Pitt expressed sincere interest in playing Hunter whilst Pacino was in the ring for Ramsey. But when Pacino pulled out, so did Pitt.
That would have been a really good matchup.
I
think anyway. Especially kind of like, isn't Brad Pitt like much kind of bigger than Al Pacino as well? Like, I'm sure Brad Pitt's like a canny bit taller than Al Pacino, so I would have liked to have seen a kind of Pitt Pacino square up in the control room, because I'm pretty sure there's a bit of a height disparity, and that would have been kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On the subject of height disparities, Tom Cruise was also considered for the role of Lieutenant Commander Hunter.
Tom allegedly 5'8" Cruise.
I can't, Tom Cruise is obviously one of the many heroes of the pod, because he'll be in a zillion of these movies eventually when we start covering them. But I don't see him as a submariner, really. I just don't see him thriving in a submarine environment, and I can't explain why. But I can see him being a fighter pilot. I can't see him being a submariner. They're a fundamentally different breed of mariner.
And I mean, like, a fighter pilot job's a job for a little guy, isn't it? You know, and Gene Hackman's like 6'2", so just Tom Cruise as Hunter, Gene Hackman still as the captain. The scene when Gene Hackman punches him in the face, you'd have to kind of squat down a little bit. It would have just added this extra bit of physical comedy when he's just, it's going to go down here. It's like, sorry.
That's cool, man. I'm going to quickly cut across to the Goofs page. There is one mental one, which is that last scene where they go to the headquarters. It says U.S. Naval Headquarters, but it's spelled naval as in Navel.
Oh, no way!
Like belly button.
Oh, man, I didn't see that.
Or naval pipe. There is such a thing as a naval pipe on warships, which is where the anchor cable goes down into, and it's spelled that way.
Right.
But not naval as in
Naval.
the Navy. Yeah, exactly, naval. And the headquarters are in DC. They're not in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's trivia. Should we do notes from the peanut gallery?
A significant amount of these reviews are more like, this film's really good, this film's amazing kind of thing. It's hard to find funny stuff. 3.5 stars. Don't know who needs to hear this right now, but if some off-the-chain asshole in a red hat gives you an illegal order to start World War III, for the love of all that is kindly, please refuse. Like, don't turn that key / push that button / pull the trigger. This means you, TYSM. And it's signed me. And like, if you already did, you know, no judgment or anything. Like, peace, I guess, right? In your last moments, if you have any, you could totally watch this Tony Scott movie from the 90s about thoroughly aggro dudes with guns yelling at each other in close quarters against a background of flashing panels at Dutch angles and super harsh primary colours minus yellow for 2 solid hours, which if you nod out and wake up again, will still be going on. But if you manage to watch the whole thing awake, like if you can't sleep because you might have, started a hot war that just maybe could consume more life on Earth in a majorly uncool conflagration, you will inevitably find yourself wondering what happens. Which faction of yelling dudes, either the nuclear war right now or the nuclear war maybe later camp, will inevitably defeat the other or come to mutual understanding. But it is possible that due to your actions and the actions of those like you might not have time to finish the movie, but you can probably guess how it turns out because it is a Hollywood movie and not real life, which is just as inevitable and depressing and bound to predictable narrative. But have a super nice day. Okay, TTFN.
TTFN.
Not a single full stop in that whole last paragraph, so obviously I had to kind of have a few breathing breaks there. Tony Scott's failsafe and the closest he got to a chamber drama. Basically, a feature-length rendition of those surveillance van sequences from Enemy of the State. Everything seemingly lit by the glow of sonar and fluorescent lights. Gene Hackman is also straight up playing everyone's boss in this movie. Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman comparing dick sizes is pretty entertaining for 2 hours, but take a drink every time you spot Tarantino's dialogue washing ashore, and you'll be drowning in more than just Crimson Tide.
Washing ashore.
Yeah.
Good.
Tarantino's punch-ups really stick out like a sore thumb. A sore thumb that kind of rules. An all-time Zimmer score and Tony really using that red, green and blue lighting in the sub to its full, all caps, advantage. Washington and Hackman's shouting match and Gandolfini clearly being turned on by holding a gun. Dudes rocking underwater. And great one here, 4 stars. Zimmer makes brass scream while a bunch of damp boys lit in red and blue splash sweat everywhere and shout into microphones. Are we not all damp boys yelling in God's submarine?
Oh, great. Most egregious military industrial complex oversell. I think in reality it's the idea that 2 men could hold the entire nuclear arsenal hostage with competing orders. I think there's more fail-safes in the real world than that. I don't think it would have turned into a mutiny v mutiny situation.
I think it's also possibly the fact that SSBNs for some reason are set up for like platoon level engagements with small arms.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. I mean, it's not a gross oversell, but it's a rather silly oversell. Like I said, unless they're going for that World War I kind of thing, when they'll surface and send some guys into a nearby town to like harass enemy supply lines and stuff.
Would this movie be better with Dr. Jack Ryan? We had Dr. Jack Ryan on a submarine before, and it went pretty well.
It did go pretty well.
Well, it did go well, but I find it hard to imagine in this particular case that he would fit in there somehow.
Yeah, his special skill is his knowledge of Ramius's psyche, isn't he? His special skill is that he knows to mention his wife at the right time.
Yeah.
I don't think that comes in particularly handy with Gene Hackman. I think if he mentions Gene Hackman's wife, he'll be like, well, she did just divorce me because I'm just too irritating a submarine commander. So get out of my control room. Clap at man at arms and put him below.
He would be like, you know that guy in Catch 22? Like young officer whose like wife is just like terminally horned up, and he just like completely like disregards her, and he like tells her, "Oh, I need to like practice marching around the room," and she's like, "Naked?" He's like, "No, clothed." He'd be like that. He'd be really difficult, I think.
Will this movie be better with Dr. Richard Kimball?
Dr. Richard Kimball wouldn't have let that guy die, right? That was some pretty weak ass CPR that was being done.
It was some diabolical first.
Dr. Richard, Kimball would have been like full on breaking that sternum CPR, and he'd have dragged that guy back from the great beyond.
Yeah,
and it would have been a good win for Richard Kimball.
That guy pipes the casualty's name over main broadcast and says he's dying, and everyone else in the boat can hear that.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. That's against my HIPAA law.
I was going to say, on the 1MC, we're going to do a HIPAA violation at 3, 2...
Would this movie have been better with President James Marshall? Get off my plane.
President James Marshall would have gone over and fought those Russian separatists himself. There'd be no need for nukes.
He would have parachuted into Russia and punched that guy out, bang in the face, and then that's it. Called off.
You would have gone in there, Jason Alexander playing a guy who knew the Russian separatist leader from work, and he'd just like, oh, here, I want to negotiate. Then he'd just be like, psych, and he'd just bang him out, kick his ass.
Is there a role for Peter Falk? There's a weird little guy in this movie.
Fantasyland.
I could see him as like the comms guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got big WWE energy.
Just one more question. Are we sure the signal is complete?
Unfortunately, I don't think... Yeah, just one more question.
Like, I mean, Fantasyland, it would be at least funny if he played, like, the captain, but that would totally destroy the film. It would make it dash, but it would be kind of funny just seeing Peter Falk punching Denzel Washington in the face.
Yeah.
Just because I'd like to see Peter Falk beating someone up or trying to. But no, yeah, Saanje's got it spot on. He'd be classed as like a comms guy who's, you know, the end of his career. He's just happy being a radio specialist. He could get that thing online in like 5 minutes.
You could do, yeah. You could be a really solid petty officer, or he could be chief of the boat, like chain smoking chief of the boat.
Yes,
just like he's the guy. Don't piss off a fucking chief petty officer or warrant officer, Officer Falk. He's got a flash on him. He's got a big flash on him.
Oh, yeah.
No.
You notice how both the submarine films we've watched, Hobbs being a chunky fella in both of them, right?
It's a weird trope they're developing.
It is,
isn't it?
yeah, it's a weird trope. It's big boy season. We've got to get a fucking huge chief of the boat. Yeah.
Changa's off the boat.
Yeah, this is a good movie for Lieutenant Commander Samuel L. Jackson, U.S. Navy.
Yes.
He would be good in this. I think he would be one of the other officers that I think would have backed up Denzel.
Definitely.
Just not on racial lines, just because he's got a head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And he would have quelled tensions a bit more, because I think he's got quite a direct word of command. Like, no one's launching a missile until I see a damn thing. I don't know, like something like that. I guess. Yeah. I can imagine raising his voice and everyone be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright could be in this movie as well. Jeffrey Wright also could have played a slightly less cliche chief of the boat as well.
Yeah, he definitely could.
He could be one of your super brainiac senior rates who doesn't want to become an officer, but they've got a brain on the size of a planet.
Yes, that's a good trope. I like that. I like that, man. That's cool. Very believable.
This movie is not pro or anti-CIA, completely absent, score unchanged. So I guess it just leaves me to ask, guys, what's your Ding Chavez Award for missed opportunity in the movie?
Opportunities did this film miss? The
only one I can think of, and I want to get your take on this. Wepps, Viggo Mortensen's role, seems a little bit unresolved.
Yeah.
So he was stuck in a rock and a hard place between the overwhelming pressure at gunpoint to back the captain. He also had a personal friendship with Denzel, which you see at the beginning of the movie when he's at his kid's birthday party. So they've got history. They've served together before, and he's stuck between that loyalty versus friendship. And it was kind of left hanging. What I would like to have seen, there probably wasn't room for it in the movie, but and it's also because like that gap between missions aborted and then meeting with Admiral Robards, clearly months worth of investigation has taken place in between, right? So it wouldn't have made sense for him to then bump into Viggo Mortensen, because they've obviously been separated off. Presumably both Ramsey and Hunter off doing like holdover jobs somewhere else in the meantime, kind of thing. If you were trying to think about it like too literally, like I am, and ruin the fun. But what should have happened, right, is another scene between Denzel and Wepps where they kind of go, look, I understand like why you did what you had to do, but maybe he's still a little bit pissed off and he's like, but now I kind of seen your true colours and you're not the man I thought you would be in a crisis, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe maybe he tries to apologise to Hunter, and maybe Hunter doesn't necessarily accept it as graciously as he could have done, because actually, you know, when the shit really hit the fan, you kind of let me down.
Yeah.
And that friendship is forever altered, you know?
And
just my thought.
Yeah, the opportunity for like Gene Hackman to punch Shunter in the face another 3 or 4 times just to totally underline how much of a badass Denzel Washington is. It's like an extended scene when like the captain totally destroys his own respect from the men by just punching Denzel Washington again and again and again. until he becomes like really tired.
Yeah.
And it becomes really tired, and Denzel Washington's like,
And he just bangs them out in one because he's been in training for Hurricane this whole time.
yes.
Ah, the old rope-a-dope.
You're up to always trick in the book. You let your line manager knock the shit out of your face until he tires himself out, and then you just bring up one.
Cool. Guys, since this is our 10th episode, I thought it'd be fun to play a special little game that I created. Are you guys up for a little game I made called You Don't Know Jack?
I've got bad news for you. The CIA did not invent crack cocaine.
Yes, always up for these games and frolics.
Gentlemen, we all know that St. Tom of Clancy has gifted us the great statesman, eroticist and spy, Jack Ryan. He himself has been portrayed on the silver screen by many actors, not least of all Alec Baldwin. And Alec Baldwin, he may not be the most definitive Jack Ryan. That title, I believe, is held by Harrison Ford. Some believe Chris Pine. But he is the definitive John Francis Jack Donaghy, the Vice President of East Coast Television and Microwave Oven Programming for General Electric in the TV series 30 Rock by Tina Fey. So, gentlemen, if you'd like to join me, what I'm going to do now is read to you some partial quotes from the work of St. Tom of Clancy and from Saint Tina of Fey. And I want you to tell me where they come from, and we'll see if you really don't know Jack.
Amazing.
I'm going to start with an easy one. I'm going to need you guys to keep score because I'm probably going to forget. And also, for everyone I get wrong that you guessed correctly, I'm going to take a shot of this this ginger root.
Oh. Experience beige.
Okay, cool. First one is, no one has ever won a land war in Russia.
30 Rock.
Damn it, you're right. Hang on. The full quote is, no one has ever won a land war in Russia. Not Napoleon, not Hitler, and not Balky in the unaired 9th season of Perfect Strangers. Take a little. So hot. Okay, second one. So Rory, you're correct. I didn't even give Saanje a chance to guess because I admitted defeat too quickly. That was a practice. Right.
Wasn't.
Right. The next one is, the CIA captured a North Korean spy. The CIA captured a North Korean spy.
Jack Ryan?
No. Saanje?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jack Ryan.
It is Jack Donaghy in Season 6, Episode 20 of 30 Rock. The full quote is, the CIA captured a North Korean spy, so we were able to arrange a prisoner swap next week. In exchange for my wife, they get their spy back, a crate of Hollister sweatshirts, and a signed headshot of Don Johnson.
Alone would, destabilize North Korea, though.
Okay, here we go. Third one. What the government is good for is collecting taxes.
That's gotta be Jack Ryan.
Saanje?
I'm not sure. I'm giving that to Jack Ryan, given that Jack Ryan at some point elects to become the government.
That's correct. It is a Tom Clancy in-person quote. The full quote is, what the government is good for is collecting taxes, taking away your freedoms, and killing people. It's not good at much else. And that is Tom Clancy on Kudlow and Kramer, 2003, a financial show on ITV America.
Hold up, his writing is this fire or grieve?
Number 4. If you want to kick a tiger in his ass, ... If you want to kick a tiger in his ass, ...
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna let Saanje go first, actually. Throwing Saanje into the breach. He's the forlorn hope this time.
It's really tricky without the full quote. Because it could turn into a full-on weird Jack Ryan analogy being made in some discussion. I'm going to go with Jack Ryan.
You saying Jack Ryan?
Okay.
It is Jack Ryan. It's
Yeah.
If you want to kick a tiger in his ass, you better have a plan for dealing with his teeth. From The Teeth of the Tiger, which is the first... It's pretty fucking obvious.
Daring, aren't we?
Which is it's the first Jack Ryan Jr. novel. Okay, next one. I'm calling out Operation Righteous.
That's got to be Jack Donaghy, man.
Sonia?
Yeah. Concur.
You're right. It is Jack Donaghy. The full quote is, "I'm calling about Operation Righteous Cowboy Lightning." Okay, number 6. Now, I've only ever seen this kind of thing on dead people during Operation Desert Storm. Now, I've only ever seen this kind of thing on dead people during Operation Desert Storm.
Not Jack Ryan.
You don't think it's Jack Ryan? Okay.
I'm going to go Jack Donaghy.
Yeah, it's a 30 Rock. It's Dr. Spachemin. Full quote. Now, I've only ever seen this kind of thing on dead people during Operation Desert Storm. I actually wrote a report on it, but my commander refused to pass it up to Saddam. Cookie times.
That's absolutely brilliant. That's what I love it.
Okay, number 7. You guys are kicking my ass here. Number 7. If the first toddler wears it, it has to be fashionable. If the first toddler wears it, it has to be fashionable.
Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan's.
Hey guys, you're so right. It's Tom Clancy on executive orders. Man, I was hoping you'd go for like a Jenna Maroney there on 30 Rock.
Nah, man, it's just because obviously with me like reading The Bear and the Dragon, like it like leans into a lot of Jack Ryan, family man, where the first children kind of thing.
Okay, well on that subject, number 8. Just can't wait to take this sexual energy back to Kathy. Just can't wait to take this sexual energy back to Kathy.
Danny, do you want to lead this one?
What are the many wives of Jack Ryan?
One is called Kathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why
I'm willing to risk it.
Are you going Jack Ryan?
Yeah.
I'm going Jack Donaghy.
Rory gets it. Okay, so it's
Jack Ryan doesn't talk about sex. He's Catholic. He thinks weird things about sex.
Correct. It's Devon. It's Devon Banks, the character played by Will Arnett in season 2 of 30 Rock. Full quote: Jack is enjoying the party. Devon, how could it not be? Can't wait to bring this sexual energy back to Kathy. Jack. Yes. Devon, don't do this. It may not be worth it. Devon, why not? We're perfect for each other. She loves that I work out a lot and talk to people, and I love how she enjoys crawling into cabinets and vents and other enclosed spaces, like behind the dryer, for instance. Number 9. That child is better off in Somalia.
Jesus. I'm going to let Sanya go on this one.
I'm just casually drinking the ginger root now because I'm getting so many wrong.
We've broken you. You just you're just like choosing to experience beige without the big Klingon guy shouting experience beige at you. Experience beige!
That child is better off in Somalia, Sanya. What say you?
That has the same energy as the Desert Storm quote.
You're saying 30 Rock? I have picked.
Saying Jack Ryan, but from one of the young Jack Ryan books.
Well, Sanya's got it.
Yay! I don't have anything noxious to drink. I'm sorry.
Full quote is, "Oh God, don't adopt. That child is better off in Somalia. It could be a pirate or a warlord's concubine."
It could be a pirate.
Liz Lemon to Jenna Maroney. Number 10. No sense spooking him. We wait for him to come in nice and close while we do our famous imitation of a hole in water. Sanya?
Famous imitation of a
fucking idea.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, that's so weird.
You're right. It's Captain Tupolev in The Hunt for October. That was a really easy one. Next one. Number 11. There are only 2 ways we are beaten. We die or we give up. And I'm not giving up.
Sorry. I'm going to go Jack Donaghy with that one.
Sounds a bit too strong.
Yeah, it's on the nose, isn't it, for War Jackie?
It's not elaborate enough.
It's a little bit too strong for Jack Ryan, but it is Tom Clancy. It's a John Clarke novel, Against All Enemies.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Ba-ba-bow. Number 12. The design forces the sitter into what the Israeli military call a stress position.
That's just whoever made my new desk.
The design forces the sitter into what the Israeli military call a stress position.
Jack Donaghy.
Sanya?
Yeah.
It is. Full quote is, Liz Lemon says, "That's a bad couch, Jack." And he says, "It is unfortunate. The design forces the sitter into what the Israeli military call a stress position. It cuts off circulation to the legs, while simultaneously spreading out the ribcage, making it difficult to breathe."
You see, if it was a true Jack Ryan quote, it would have also been included like the Hebrew translation of stress position. Just for extra techno thriller granularity and detail.
Right, final one. I don't know who's winning anymore. I know I'm losing. Final one, son of a bitch.
Both.
Oh, no, it's one or the other.
One or the other, jeez. Saanje, I'll let you take a lead on this one, man. Since my gambit failed when I thought there was, it's both. Frick at the end of it. You're up,
Sounds
Saanje.
like something Jack Ryan might say in Hunt for Red October, like in the book version.
Yeah.
You going for Jack? Ryan?
Yeah.
It's Jack Donaghy. He says, son of a bitch, Banks. What brings you to New York? Drawn to the phallic nature of our skyline? You're probably thinking of the quote, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. From Hunt for October.
Absolutely.
Got you on a technicality.
Destroyed on technicalities. Technically correct, the best kind of correct.
Because in a quote, my friend, like an investigation, details matter.
Ooh, good grief.
Yes, Rachel.
I've got bad news for you. The CIA did not invent crack cocaine.
God.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for playing You Don't Know Jack, where you proved that actually you do know Jack pretty well, guys. So congratulations. I guess all that is left to say is that we've come, sadly, once again to the end of another episode of Clear and Present Dudes. The 10th episode of Clear and Present Dudes.
That's right.
If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a comment or a like on Apple Podcasts. Send an email, please, to clearandpresentdudes@gmail.com if you have any suggestions or any comments you'd like to make. And yeah, guys, what movie are we doing next? Whose choice is it next?
Is it yours?
Yours, Rory.
It's a mine.
I think that'd be yours. Yeah.
Well, in that case, we are sticking with someone who's played one of the Jacks, Ryan. We are moving away from the US military, but I think the US government is involved. We're going to do a film that I last watched when I was being evacuated from Iceland when the volcano went off. We're going to watch Unstoppable, the Chris Pine runaway train disaster thriller.
Oh, I've never seen that.
I haven't seen that one in quite a while.
Yeah, buddy. The last time I saw that, I was on like an pretty old airliner flying out of Iceland after airline traffic had been stopped because of the explosion from the volcano.
Cool.
Yeah. And they decided that to troll were like, this wasn't an airliner that had like seat back consoles and stuff. There was one little TV towards like the cockpit, and they literally put on this like really washed out, faded colour, pirate looking VHS of Unstoppable.
Oh.
A disaster movie as we're flying away from a country with an exploding volcano on a really beaten up old bone. And it was like, you're trolling us all. So yes, we're doing Unstoppable.
That's brilliant. Hey, I'll tell you what, I really like Chris Pine, actually. I know we talked a little bit smack about him. He's not, maybe he's not the definitive Jack Ryan, but I really loved him in Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves recently. He's a very charismatic individual, very good actor. So yeah, looking forward to that. It should be good.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Would like to take one step ahead for the next episode and answer your usual question, Mike. How would this have gone down in Germany? No train.
No train. No train, amazing.
All that is left for us to say then, guys, is we've been
no bits.
Clear and present dudes.
Almost got it.
Beautiful.
Almost got it. Yep.
So